Get a good start here at ball number one. He does. Snap stands up though. He's going to be a stripe here. Oh! This is going to be a big call from the judge.
This is Distance from Center. I'm Horton, that's Trent. You just watched footage from the 2019 Moomba Masters. We're going to recount the indisputable facts of what happened and then talk about how it impacts the sport, why we're still talking about it.
Yep.
So what really happened is top three skiers on the podium were Thomas DeGasperi, who ran 2 at 41. Joel Howley got around 1 at 41, got around 2 at 41, and didn't get back to the boat guides quite in time. In fact, he took a huge hit and still didn't make it back, so he's kind of laughing himself about that. And then Nate Smith comes out as top seed and runs what the judges gave him was 2 at 41, but days later, the internet has kind of really analyzed it and decided that he pretty clearly went inside 2-ball. So he should have been third. He was granted second, and really, from Joel's perspective, not only did it cost him a place on the podium, but $2,000. So Trent, what are your thoughts?
So I mean, this is a hot topic, and first of all, this isn't. It's not like we went back and it was like scoured over and scrutinized and frame by frame high res. It was, to a lot of people on site in that moment, they're like, no, that was not around that buoy. So there's the first thing. I heard about it moments after the event ended. So I mean, this isn't so much after the fact as it might seem to some people.
Right.
Second, this scenario has affected a lot of skiers. Meaning that there's a lot of really reputable skiers, really genuinely good, honest people that have had their scores scrutinized after the fact. So this isn't piling on one person. This has been an ongoing topic for quite some time.
Right, and Trent, let me interrupt you and make a point here. Is this is not? I don't think that anybody is saying that Nate Smith did anything wrong in this case. I don't know if he knew he got around the ball or not. I mean, he hit it. I would imagine if it had been me, and I'm not in the realm of skier of Nate Smith, but I can imagine that he got back to the wakes and thought, I don't know if that was good or not.
Yeah, you know what though? Like in keeping with that, there I saw one particular frame where where the buoy was already on the outside of his ski and he was absolutely looking down. So I think he probably knew that he didn't go around it. But there's it's also the Yarrow and water's moving and buoys are moving, and right. So I'm thinking maybe. His thought process was more, I don't know how this is going to get called, and
right.
It's a tough one, so then you're in this whole thing, like, okay, are the judges at fault? Absolutely they're at fault. But, someone, like a really reputable skier pointed out to me the other day, because I'm like, I don't know how you missed that call. I'm like, I saw him turn 1-ball, and I knew if he made it around 2, it was going to be a miracle. And 2, even in real time, I saw him go inside it. And he pointed out, he said, Trent, like you watch, let's say you watch 15 sets a day, you watch hundreds of people go around buoys, every single day, where your average judge, they judge 4 or 5 tournaments a year. So I mean, they don't, they're not as equipped to call these in real time, as someone like I might be. So. So yes, it's the judge's fault, but it isn't an intentional thing. It's just super, super unfortunate, when these things happen.
Right, and from the judge's perspective, the thing that I'm struggling with, and I think we can probably argue both sides of this, but Joel told me that he did at some point, and I'm not exactly sure on the chronology, but Joel did go to the judges and request video review, and it was denied, which, I understand there's thousands of people on the banks, and maybe that is their logic if they didn't want to backtrack.
Yep.
But in, Monday morning quarterbacking, or now a week later, I think it's unquestionably the wrong decision.
Yes.
They should have gone back and looked.
Yes. Yeah, and I think like when it's that close, that the initiative should have been made internally. You know what I mean? Because I'm all on that. You can't you can't drag this thing out and especially when there is a substantial crowd, which Moomba Monday absolutely has. But and then we get into this whole thing where, okay, like who gets the calls, who doesn't get the calls, and
right.
there is, I think there absolutely is a psychological, sociological phenomenon that takes place where someone of Nate's stature is going to get, they're going to be viewed through a different lens than one of the middle of the pack skiers. I don't think it's right, but I completely understand its root. Nate comes into one ball and has a wheelie. Most people still think he's going to get to 3, 4, or 5. Especially the judges. Where if it happened to someone like myself, they're going to be absolutely watching to see that I went inside 2 balls. So I don't think it's their fault, but I think it's they're conditioned to see it in a certain way, because it happens across some of the bigger American ball sports. You'll see it all the time where a high stature player is going to get a completely different call than a guy coming off the bench would, and then in that case too, I don't think it's intentional. I think it's a psychological phenomenon. You're expecting to see it, so you absolutely see it in the way you thought you were going to.
Right. So let me keep moving here before
Yes.
we run out of time. As I tend to do when things like this happen, I call around to people in the sport that I respect, and probably the one judge that I respect the most, who I'll leave unnamed, made the comment that we're scrutinizing one buoy that was miscalled. How many buoys were turned in the entire event? Is it unfair that we've picked this one?
No.
Okay.
No, because to Joel
sure.
Halley, it was
$2,000.
well, and to him it was the second most important buoy turned of the whole event.
Correct.
So I think I think that it needs to be scrutinized a little bit, because I think this is the only way that and we have amazing officials and we have hardworking officials, and it's a miserable job, because I do it, but just drawing this to people's attention is super, super important, or how else are we going to get any better, so when the best skier in the world comes into one ball and flags it or wheelies it, however you want to term it, get ready, because even this guy might go inside the next buoy. Everyone might go inside the next buoy. It was a pretty easy missed call. And again, that's a little, perhaps sounds a little bit harsh, but seeing it in real time from the particular angle I saw it anyway. I know it's not always as easy, but from where I saw it, I was like, that's absolutely inside the buoy. So. Yeah, we have to talk about it, because if we don't, then it's never going to get any better.
Okay, so moving on, solutions that Marcus Brown, love him to death, has always got interesting solutions. He's like, why aren't the athletes judging themselves? And I mean, you can frame that a number of ways, but why aren't the elite women judging the elite men, and the elite men judging the elite women, and have them trust themselves and take appointed officials out of it? Maybe that's impractical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think it is, because now we're asking the these high level athletes who have worked their entire lives to even be at the finals in the Moomba Masters. We can't be having athletes do double duty.
Okay.
But I think I think another skier pointed out a really and we're kind of doing this right now, but another skier pointed out, like, there needs to be or a good solution would be having a post-event review. You know, and one of the things you would review is judges' calls. Like, you know, here, you know, here's obviously here's the good calls. We all know what the good calls were, but you know, here's a review of the missed calls. You know, okay. So and then okay, how did you miss it? Why do you think you missed it? Seeing it again, you know, in this video review, like, do you think you should have missed it? And again, there's continuing education for everything. You know, and judges have continuing education, but even like when judges are getting rated to be senior and Pan Am level officials, they should see this video in real time and find out what that call would be. You just need to learn it to use it as a learning tool so we can move forward. The other topic would be, you know, self-review or skiers self-judging a little more. And again, mentioning Marcus Brown, I know he's a huge proponent of that. Like, if you get a soft call, a call that you know is incorrect, you're responsible to do something about it. And that's a tougher one. You know, that's a tough one. And if you are the person that would approach the judge and say, hey, look, I didn't go around that buoy, that's completely remarkable. And if you're not, I don't think that makes you a bad person. It's just, you know, because there's a competitive nature in these guys. So you know, that one's a little bit tougher. But I think it needs to be. I think talking about it is only a positive, because, you know, all of us have to get better. As you know, I'm a judge. I need to, you know, I want to be the best judge possible. So it helps me to see these things too.
All right, so this is painful, but I need you to give your final thoughts. You have 15 seconds.
I mean, Joel Howley got second at Moomba Masters, but, you know, due to a missed call, he ended up third. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not the last time it happened. And if you look at the whole frame, that's the nature of sport. So,
okay.
Give me your final thought.
My thought on this is clearly it's a miscarriage of justice in the sport, and I only hope that producing shows like this disallows officials from thinking that if they make a bad call, they're not going to get called on it. That transparency through the internet is going to force people to kind of sit up and try harder. And I'm not saying these guys at Moomba weren't trying hard, but when they made that decision not to review the video, I don't think that they anticipated that we would stand up and say, you tried hard, but you got it wrong.
Bravo.